Hello, welcome to Jenny's Food Network. Okay, today we're going to learn how to make fried rice. And here's just some extra stuff that you could use to put into your fried rice. So, first of all, I'll just do the veggies first, how to cut it and stuff. And I'll show you how to cook white jasmine rice stovetop style. Okay, in case if you don't have a rice cooker or if you don't want to use a rice cooker. Here's just some extra stuff that I just could use that were in my refrigerator that I'm going to cook for the family. So here's some broccoli crowns, and here's some green onions that I will use at the very end, long green onions, and just pluck the ones that are not as perfect. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now we're gonna. Some people just like to see how I cut. Okay, so here you go. Just cut out the butt end of it, toss it out, and here you could chop the stem part vertically, and then you could chop it across. Okay, so. Because you can eat that. And just pull out the extra green leaves. Right, here I go. I'm going to start cutting. Cut it vertically first. Once you start getting up to the flower part, the floret part, you can move it aside. And then you could just chop across and you can use that as part of your fried rice. And that's the soft part. And then just get a container and just put it in there. The fried rice, I like to have the broccoli cooked evenly, so eventually it will get steam cooked if you have them small, okay? Towards the end. You'll see the step when I start making the fried rice. I just break it up little like that. So they're in small bits of pieces, because if you have it in a big long stem, it's going to take longer to cook. Okay, and certain parts of the broccoli will be hard, some will be still very overly cooked. So to make it cook more evenly, it's good to have the broccoli in small pieces like this. If you like them in bigger pieces, it's up to you. For me, I think it's better when it's more in smaller pieces, okay? And just break it up in small, little size pieces. So it doesn't take long to cook the broccoli at all when you steam cook it, when you cook it with the fried rice. You don't have to cook it separately. You just put it in with the fried rice and just stir it, and then the steam from the fried rice will eventually just cook the broccoli so fast. Here we go. This is the soft stem part. Now we're going to cut across. Cut in smaller pieces. Here's a big piece here. We'll just break up the stems up a little bit so it's in little florets. Here we go again, little pieces. You know, be creative, you know. Mine is just an example of my way, how I like it. You know, being artful with your cooking and baking is part of being creative, you know. There's billions and billions, zillions of free recipes out there. I always end up making it my way, how I like it. If you're the type of person who likes to follow recipes to the exact measurement or exact way, then it's up to you as well. But for me, I like to be creative on my own and just do it my way, the way I like it. So it's part of exploring, trial and error. And then you decide, and over time as you cook, you're going to decide for yourself what you like and what you don't like, what's better and what to improve for next time. Here we go. We have more broccoli to go. So just cut the butt end out and just toss it out. Here's the soft stem part. We're going to cut vertically again, and then we're going to cut across to make it smaller. Now here we go. We're going to see these are big pieces. You're not going to eat it like this. It's going to be harder to cook this way, so you're going to cut it across and thin it out into little sticks. Cooking can be very messy, you know, that's part of cooking, that's part of baking. When you're making desserts, it's going to be messy. It's okay. It's part of learning how to cook, you know. You have to make sure you're motivated to cook and clean, and, you know, you'll eventually inspire people to want to cook as well. So I'm making a big batch of one full-size wok, you know. That's why I'm chopping a lot of broccoli. And if you want more color to it, you could add frozen corn, frozen peas. You can add some red color to it by using red bell peppers. You can add green color to it by using green kale, chopped green kale or broccoli. You know, pretty much be, you know, just be decorative. And be creative if you want a colorful dish. It's like being a painter, you know, you paint your canvas, you know, with oil paint or with any type of paint, and be creative. I'll cut this later, so I don't want to make the videos too long. Okay, here's some green onions. Here's some green onions. I highly recommend chopping off the white part, because if you use it, it's going to get really slimy. You'll know what I'm talking about. So I'll tell you where to cut off. The white part is very, very slimy and gooey. It just makes everything kind of gross. So, you know, pluck out the parts that aren't pretty and perfect, you know, that are kind of old. So here we go. So you can line it up. Line up the green onions. And when you cut, here's the green part. Cut right here. Wait, well, you can cut right here, because this part right here is very slimy, okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about. So cut that part off. I normally just throw it out. I don't use it. And now you have this green part, okay? So here I go. I'm going to cut the green onions. I cut it pretty thin. I like it thin cut. Some restaurants, some people will cut about 1 inch long, but I don't like it like that. I like it very cut small. It's up to you. Like I said, it's your creativity, it's you cooking. You decide what you like. Do you like it 1 inch cut, half an inch cut, or do you like it just like 1/4 of an inch cut? I like it 1/4 of an inch cut. I like it very thin cut. Normally you're supposed to cut with your knuckles and cut the knife away from you so you don't cut your finger. But I normally like to cut it more vertical, but you have to be careful. Make sure you always look when you cut so you don't cut your finger. Sometimes people like to talk and not look what they're cutting, and they end up cutting their finger, so be careful. And make sure you have a knife that is sharp. The knife that I'm using is a Cutco cleaver knife, which is my favorite. I use it a lot for cutting meat, for cutting vegetables. And I do have my sharpener, so I always sharpen it when I feel that it's getting dull. So make sure when you have a knife, make sure only the flat surface ones you can sharpen. But the ones that are rigid with teeth, usually you don't sharpen those. But the flat surface ones, you can sharpen those. Okay, here's the green onions. I'm done cutting. This will be used at the very end once you turn off the heat and you just stir it in. You do not want to overcook green onions, because they'll start to turn yellow and it will start going through like a really quick spoilage process. So I put the onion in last to stir it, and the broccoli as well. The broccoli will be among the last one, but the very, very last one are the green onions. Once you start cooking more, you'll understand which type of veggies cook very quickly and which one take the longer time to cook. You know, and it also depends on the size of the cut, how big the broccoli is. Some restaurants will cook broccoli about this big. You know, I don't like it that big. I like it like this smaller. And this is my way of my creativity of the reasons why. Cooks faster, easier to stir, easier to eat. Okay, if you compare the restaurant style broccoli compared to the way I like it. I like it in smaller pieces. So the onions are done, broccoli's done. And here we have the onion. Be careful not to use too much onion, because it waters down very quickly. It can make your fried rice very soggy, so don't use too much, okay? 1 bulb is good enough. Sometimes I'll even use 2 bulbs, but right now I'm just using 1. So to cut, just cut the butt end of it off. Here we go. Oh yeah, another thing, word of advice. Let me rinse this out to give it a nicer, clean cutting board. Underneath the cutting board, use a cloth to have the cutting board at a good grip, okay? Because if you don't have a grip, you could use a thick napkin, a cloth. If you remove it, it slides a lot. So when you cut, it moves a lot and you can cut your hand or finger, whatever. So to be safe, use a thick napkin or a towel, a clean towel, and let it rest on top. Some already come with grips, but this does not come with a grip. Okay, so for the onions, cut the butt end off, okay? And go ahead and peel it. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse it out. Okay, so here we have, they asked, how do you cut onions? Well, you can cut it however way you want it, but for me, I like to have it sit on a flat surface butt end of it. Okay, cut it vertically down, and then you can start cutting across, and then turn it, and then cut it across again. If you like to leave them in little strips, like that, you can. If you don't want to, you can cut it in a chopped dice style. And right here, when it starts to get very close to your finger, it's going to be hard to cut. It's going to tip over. You can cut your finger, you see? So make sure you tip it over where it's more flat, and then cut across again, so you don't cut your finger. And there's a butt end piece here. You can throw that out. Okay, and then just cut across again, just to get it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Just enough so it's easy to stir, so every bite you intake will be having a piece of onion. Here we go. The moon surface. Cut across. And then move it over, turn it, and cut again. The onions can really hurt your eyes, so run the fan or open the window or something, or turn the vent on. Okay, so here we have it, the onions. And just put it in a, just to get the excess water out. Now I'm going to put the onions in here. Since I'm already here, I might as well just finish up the remaining broccoli, just so you get an idea how to cut veggies. Cut that butt end off. Okay. Ooh, the onions are very strong. Oh yeah, sometimes people like to use bean sprouts in the fried rice, but just to let you know, I don't like to use bean sprouts because it gets very soggy. Because it's very watery. You know, if you have ever eaten bean sprouts, it's very watery. It reminds you of watermelon, because when you bite into it, it's just full of water. So anyways, bean sprouts, if you do want to use bean sprouts, I recommend you to toss in the bean sprouts at the very, very end, after you turn off the heat, because it cooks extremely fast. Because if you overcook bean sprouts, it's going to get very soggy. It's going to get your fried rice very soggy as well, okay? And you don't want a soggy, wet fried rice. It's gross. And if you have leftovers, and if you reheat it, the fried rice is going to be more gross and soggy. And bean sprouts spoils very fast, by the way. By the time you buy it, in about 2 to 3, 4 days, it's already spoiled. You cannot even eat bean sprouts. So for me, I don't like to use bean sprouts because it just gets too soggy. Unless if you're going to finish your fried rice right away, then go ahead and add the bean sprouts in it. I normally like to use bean sprouts for my pad thai, and you have to make sure you eat it right away because leftovers are really gross for bean sprouts. Or you don't have to cook the bean sprouts with the pad thai, but rather put it on at the end as a garnishment so it doesn't get soggy and overly cooked. Alright, here you have it, how to chop veggies. We got the floret broccolis chopped, the green onions, the bulb onions, the Spanish yellow onions. Alright guys, we're going to learn how to cook white jasmine rice next.